Okay. We call this meeting to order. It's a meeting of the regular council meeting. It's held online and broadcasted in Washington City's YouTube channel, washingtoncity.org/meetings. On the agenda are two public hearings scheduled this evening. The city has been open and receiving public comment for these public hearings since last Friday, April 3rd. Your public comments or concerns for these items can be made through the posted agenda for the link for items available for public comment at washingtoncity.org/meetings. Comments will be taken until the city council closes each public hearing. For this and future public hearings, we would encourage the public to monitor the agendas on the city's website, as we will only be taking public comments in this manner. No verbal public comments will be taken. Once tonight's public hearings are closed, the city court recorder will read all the comments into the public record. If you have any questions or comment of any of our processes and procedures, you can contact our city recorder, Denise Bullock. Again, we thank you for your patience as we figure out how to operate in this new world that we're going and the things that we are going through. We are committed of keeping the business of Washington City going each and every day. We remind everyone that planning and zoning and building services are functioning, and we are processing those requests as quickly as possible. Thank you very much. I welcome you to our Washington City Council public notice of an electronic meeting. It is April 8th, 2020. We started at 6:04. Those in attendance are our city council members, Daniel Clough, Cress Daly, Kurt Ivey, Douglas Ward, and Craig Coates, with our staff also that are attending, and I will have the recorder make the note of the staff that has attended in this public meeting. I have asked Councilman Dan Clough if he will offer an invocation, and if Councilman Craig Coates will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're so grateful for the opportunity which we have to come together and discuss the needs of Washington City. At this time where our city, our nation, our world is grappling with the issue of COVID-19, we pray that we will be able to do those things which are safe and secure at this time on behalf of our citizens, on behalf of those who are visiting and those who are establishing their lives with us in their businesses. We pray for special guidance upon our staff, upon our public servants and those who keep us safe, and upon every resident, that we may act and behave in a way which supports liberty and supports process and supports safety. Help us to do those things which would bring us peace, to be mindful of those things that would bring us harm, and always aware of those things that could bring more joy and security and prosperity in our community. At this time, when we discuss these items before us, we pray that we will do those things with courtesy, respect, and with a deep commitment to live within the ordinances and the restraints which we have as city council members, that we respect the Constitution of the great state of Utah and the great state of our great country. We're so grateful for this opportunity and pray for thy mercy upon us. May thy will be done. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
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 Please rise and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
For which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
So moved, Mayor.
Second,
I have a motion, and who seconded the motion?
Clough, second.
Councilman Clough seconded. All in favor,
Hey,
say
Mayor,
aye.
I have a quick question, Mayor. Sorry.
Okay.
On the agenda, the one that we're talking about, item 5A, are we just going to address that notification during that time?
When we get to 5A, yes, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
then I don't have any comment. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye, or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Item 2, announcements. Anything to announce? I do have one announcement, if I may. On April 24th, Washington City Council and the Washington City Mayor are going to be proud to host a drive-in movie. I believe that's a Friday night. We start at 8 o'clock, and the site will be the Washington City Community Center. So, and more information will be made available through social media and on the radio. So it'll be a lot of fun. That's all I have. Anything on item 3, declaration of abstentions and conflicts?
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Staley. Is that Councilman Staley?
Yes, Mayor. My wife and I, we own a property in close proximity to item 5A. So I will be abstaining from any discussion or future vote on that particular zone change request.
So noted. Thank you very much.
Mayor, this is a Councilman Coates. Item 9C, the award for the Washington Dam Outfall and East Lift Station. My company I work for worked on that project, and so I'll be abstaining from that vote.
So noted. Thank you very much. Okay. Any others?
I just had a quick question for you, Mayor, and I just appreciate it. Just a quick training. We all have various facets of our life outside of what we do as a council. What can you remind me? What would be the main things that we should declare for abstentions and conflicts? Is there anything in particular we should be aware of?
Well, like for example, with Councilman Coates, his company was involved directly in that project. Councilman Staley, he has property next to the development. If you had an ownership or a partnership in something that could, you could potentially have an influence in or on for the positive, those are the things that you should consider abstaining from.
All right, thank you. Just a clarification. I appreciate that.
Okay, any other items to declare or abstain from? Okay, move on to item 4, consent agenda. Item A, to approve the minutes from the city council meetings of 3/11/2020 and 3/30/2020. Item B, consideration to approve the board audit report for March 2020. Item C, final plat, consideration to approve the final plat for Commerce Hospitality Center located at approximately 954 Commerce Boulevard, applicant Dean Terry. Consideration to approve the final plat for the Prada Hasina Phase 2 located approximately 500 North, 100 East, applicant Craig Engel. I believe that's it. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion. We approve the
I have a
consent
few
agenda.
questions, if you don't mind, sorry. I tried
Nope,
to
you're
No.
good.
Go ahead, Councilman.
If you don't mind, I have 4 questions on the board audit.
Okay.
Nothing crazy, but just, I feel it's our duty to look over the expenditures. On what would be page 7, date March 15th, it looks like we paid for flights for the New Scale trip. I'm just wondering if we were able to get a refund on those fares, or if they will allow us to fly at a future date with the cost. And I also kind of thought that UAMPS was paying for that.
We were paying for the flights, but I'm going to have Rick Hansen answer your question because he's the one that booked it and has been working with Delta on the change.
Okay, Mayor and Council, where that currently sits is they rescheduled that meeting for May 28th and 29th. It's yet to be seen if that's going to, materialize, but I was able to move all the flights to that. And the city covers the flight costs and UAMPS takes care of the motel and food and that kind of stuff. So right now we're scheduled for May 28th and 29th, contingent on, you know, what happens with the virus.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
And that was at no cost to change.
Great. The next question would be on page 8, March 18th of 20. The payee was Two Wheel Industries. It was in the police section. It seems to me that a recent board audit, I saw 1 or 2 other mountain bikes being purchased. How many total are we buying? And is this a second or a third or what?
On that expenditure, if I can talk, this is Chief Williams. That was actually donated. We got a donation from a charitable organization that we paid for those bikes with. So the money comes in. Sorry, the donation money came in, but it still shows an expenditure.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Are you okay, Mayor, if I go on with 2 more
Absolutely.
questions?
You said you had 4.
Yeah, okay, so there's 2. The third question is on what would be page 10. There's not a page number, but the date is March 26th. And the payee is Casey Bassett. I'm looking for it as I scroll. It was to grind and install quartzite flake. And there was no description in the far right column. I'm just wondering what that was all about.
I'm either going to have Kimberly address that, and if she can't address that, we'll just have to look it up and get back.
If I could make, this is Barry Blake, if I could make a comment, I would believe that that's the new floors in the bathrooms at the community center.
Great. It did come from the general fund.
Say that again, Barry.
I'd have to look at it and see what the cost and everything is, but when you talk about the description of it, that's what it sounds like. It's the work that we did in the bathrooms at the community center, the floors.
Great. And actually, I think I'll leave it at 3 tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ivy?
Just one question. Purgatory Work Crew, what do they work at for the city?
Well, they do a variety of things for us, from weeding along the interchanges to, we actually find them extremely cost effective and give them work to do. So we'd have to look up specifically what that is, but they do public works kind of care, maintenance and care projects all over town for us.
I've seen them at the county library, and I just didn't know that, but certainly support it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Staley? Your hand's still up?
I got to remember to put my hand down. I forget that.
That's okay. All right, if there are no other questions, I will entertain that motion again.
Mayor, I'd like to make that motion for item 4A, B, and C of the consent agenda.
Second, Clough.
Second, motion and a second. I'd like a roll call vote. Start with Councilman Clough.
Clough, aye.
Staley?
Staley, aye.
Ivy?
Ivy, aye.
Coates?
Coates, aye.
Ward?
Aye.
Thank you. That's approved. Move on to item 5A, or item 5, public hearings. There is a need to table item 5A. You may or may not know, we have received a lot of public comment. I think it was over 35. And so I believe that it's working. Folks are looking online. But part of the one on the Dennett situation, some of the public comment format was canceled by mistake. And so We would like to, those that might be listening, that have made comments, we're going to keep those comments. You won't need to re-comment. And we will have them read at the next meeting. So I would like to entertain a motion that we table this public hearing for 2 weeks. So that we
Mayor,
can.
before your vote,
so that
can
we
I ask
offer
a
the,
question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So it sounded like you said that something got deleted. Can you help me understand
It
that?
got, the posting got canceled online.
Oh,
So there was,
So we
There was
wanted to
one
make
posting.
sure that
yeah, we have.
that was uncanceled at that portion. And so those folks that would have may be wanting to have a comment on that, they may have saw that it was canceled and it wasn't canceled. So we want to have everybody have the opportunity to make comment. Was that clear as mud, Doug?
yeah. It sounds like it was posted up there and people could comment in, and then some people came in and they couldn't comment because it looked like it was canceled.
Yes, yes.
It
And then
actually
so I
was-
guess
if I could, it was just actually a posting issue. So we have several agendas that get posted on one of the postings. It just showed that public hearing had been canceled. So what that would have meant
Okay.
for somebody just looking at that is they may have said, well, I wanted to comment, but I didn't. And we don't want that to happen.
okay. So then this meeting will be reposted, noticed up for next council meeting.
Yes.
Yes, and we'll allow the public comment period to stay open.
Okay.
Councilman Clark?
I know that this is an error, and I know that I appreciate us moving this to next week. But since so many comments have been submitted, would it be appropriate to receive those comments as council members leading up into the next meeting? I would appreciate that if it's possible, or is there a restriction on that since it's technically not opened at this time and we're moving that to next week?
City
I
manager?
don't know. We'll look into that. How about
I know
that?
this is a snafu moment. Don't get me wrong. It's a unique scenario,
Yeah.
and with that much public feedback, that's piqued my interest a lot. To just understand what's been put out there, and knowing I would have heard about it tonight, but there was just some honest mistakes that happened as we're trying to make this whole transition. So I was just wondering, in light of us knowing that there is a lot of public insight, public ideas, I technically don't mind if they're not read out right now. But if that's something that the council could have access to help us gain an insight in the meeting coming up, I was just wondering if that's a possibility.
What we're trying to decide, and we're trying to mirror our previous structure of meeting as closely as possible, which means that they would have been read into the record when they stood at the podium. And so what we're trying to avoid is releasing those before they actually become an official part of the record.
That makes
But
sense.
we can think about that and get back with you on that.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Councilman Ivey.
Yes, just to be clear for those residents that might be listening in, is they will be renoticed. That is correct, right?
Yes,
Okay, so there's nothing lost. It's just we're going to do it again in 2 weeks.
right. But they don't need to unless they really want to double their effort, double their comments. They don't really need, those that have already made their comments, we have them on file. We'll move on to the next.
Just in way of a comment, Mayor, where this has been set back 2 weeks, I'm wondering if it might be possible for us to take a public hearing, open the meeting, have our public hearing and close it and vote that night, just under this circumstance, just because it was going to possibly set people back. Or
I don't have a problem with it. Any other comments on that?
and I certainly don't have an opinion. It was just a thought, just trying to take advantage of where we're all together right now, just so those people that are listening might know a little better as to what's going to happen.
So typically I don't I'm all for it, but I think this is going to be a hot topic item. So I don't want to decide that right now. It's kind of my decision. I think if we could get into the meeting and we feel like it's a consensus and we can move forward, I'm all about it, but I wouldn't want to make that decision right now because with 30 plus comments already, I think we're going to have some concerns in looking at it moving forward. So I don't want to address that right now personally.
All right, thank you. Councilman Club?
I think Councilman Ivy kind of was in the same boat where I was, of trying to get the best out of the information we have at now in time. And I also side with Councilman Coates to just kind of go forward and let's follow the process and the structure that we have and put this to next week, to the next meeting. Just thank you both for saying the same thing that has just been on my mind. I think we're in the right direction now.
All right, thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion if nobody else has other additional comments.
I'll make a motion that we table public hearing 5A for the consideration to approve the zone change request Z-20-02 to change from open space to PUDC planned unit development to the next council meeting, which I'm gonna get the date real fast, to the April 22nd.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. I'll entertain a roll call vote. Councilman Ward,
Aye.
Coach,
Coates, aye.
Ivy,
Aye.
Clough.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Move on to item B, public hearing for consideration to approve a height waiver request.
Mayor,
Question,
I
Mayor,
think you need to call
Steely,
on
get a chance
Councilman
to vote?
Crest.
Councilman
He
Staley.
abstained.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. Councilman Staley, thank you.
Item B, public hearing for consideration to approve a height waiver request HW 20-02 for a detached pool house at a height of 28 feet 1.5 inches, located at 930 Seminole Way, Washington, Utah. Applicant Christopher Colton. I believe we go to Drew.
Yes, Mayor, can you see the exhibit on your screens now? Did you guys say yes, no?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, hold on then. How about now? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. The applicant, as stated, is requesting a waiver from the maximum height of buildings allowed for an accessory structure in a residentially zoned property. The address, as stated by the mayor, is 930 South Seminole Way. The maximum allowable height posted at this time for those zone properties is 20 feet. The applicant is seeking approval to extend the height of an accessory structure on his property to 24 feet and 3 inches at the max. So I'll just kind of go through. This is the building at the elevations. You can see, I'm going to try to zoom in down here on the property corner and give you an idea. It's down there in that bottom corner. That's as tight as I can get that. So let me kind of get up my pencil here. I love doing this now. It's a neat tool. So the area we're talking is down here, circled in red, is where the property exists. If you'd like, I've also got it ready. The property as it exists now. Well, let's go through the elevations and then I'll show you the aerial as we go. So I'm just going to be scrolling down. Let me clear off my red pencil and we'll back out a second. And I'll just go through. This is elevation of the bottom floor, which is the pool house area. Then you can see the stairs that actually head up to the second floor, which is an office and a workout room. This particular gentleman works from home, needs a place out of the house. For those of you who have kids, you understand what that means. And then here's all 4 elevations. I'm trying to keep them all on your screen. from all the different angles there. Then these are more technical for the drawing. And so what I'd like to do, I'll stop back on these elevations. Again, the maximum height, the finished grade to the peak of the roof is 24.3. Then I'll bring up the city view. This is the property in question. I'll circle. And the particular area that he wants to put this, I'll draw that kind of roughly back in this corner here. And just kind of highlight that out. So that's the location. You see the plans. I see some of you chuckling. This is fun. I have too much fun doing this. I know. I'm sorry. The kid with a new toy. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that the council might have before you go into your public hearing. Steve, do we have the applicant on the phone? Steve says, oh, Chris is
Yes,
on
he's
the
on the
phone,
phone.
so he's available for questions. You can see the phone bridge just popped up. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, or you can just ask the applicant, and then you can go into your public hearing. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions for Drew?
Drew,
I
is
have a
the,
couple questions.
Let's go with Councilman Staley and Councilman Ivy, that order.
Is the height requested 24 feet 3 inches or 28 feet 1.5 inches? I'm seeing one thing on the agenda and another thing on staff review.
Yeah, you should have got an updated agenda. I apologize for that. It got misrepresented going out. It's the 24.3. So disregard the 28, go to the 24. Originally, he came in at 28 feet. I told him that probably wouldn't fly. He went back with his architect, got it whittled down to the 24.3. So that's the number I want you to keep in mind, is 24.3 is the max.
Okay, another question for you, Drew. When I inspected the property today, I noticed that the way this particular lot sits, it sits up high, but it does give a lot of space behind with that canal trail easement. So I just wanted to make sure in particular that the two neighbors to the north were notified. That would be, I think, 904 South Seminole and 814 East Waukera Cove. And I'm wondering if either of those directly affected. To me, those were the only ones I could see that would have effect if there were any comments from either of those neighbors and if they were properly noticed.
They should have been. Again, I saw the labels come in. Again, this is one that just has 300 foot around. I can't remember how many were on there. I don't know if Denise can pop on if she remembers.
There was
'Cause
approximately,
again, this doesn't go to planning commission, so it would have been there. And I asked her earlier, and as I remember, she said there were no comments brought in. But Denise, it looks like you're on. Go ahead.
I am, the notices were sent out. There was approximately 25, I believe, not quite a full sheet of labels that were sent out. And at the current time, we do not have any public comments on this at all.
Thank you, Denise. Any other questions? Oh, let's see, did I say Councilman Ivy? Then we'll go with Councilman Clough and Councilman Coates.
thank you. Drew, the existing home that this proposed building will be built on, it's a 2-story home, it looks like from the roof schematic. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think it's a full 2-story. It's a partial. Right in the middle, I think, is the second. So the part that's the garage you can see on the north end.
Mhm.
Let me get back my pointer here. This, oh, sorry. That's not giving me what I wanted. This area is 1 story. It's where the current garage is, but I think this particular area is 2-story in the middle of the home.
That's what it
Then
looks
back
like.
to a 1-story on the south side.
So I'm assuming that the proposed building, they're 8-foot walls. Is that correct? Standard stud walls? Are they 8 or 10 feet?
Let me go over and we'll pull that up here. I'm going to try to zoom in on this because it.
On the house or the pool house?
On the pool house is my question.
On the pool house, it's 9 foot on the main floor and 8 foot on the second story.
Yeah.
And it looks like the trusses are a 3.5 by 12. So that's probably where you gain some of that height back. That's about as shallow as you want to go on that.
Yeah, so 9 on the bottom, 8 on the top.
And you've got a joist. It'd be probably about a foot, wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay.
They're usually about 12 to 16 inches, depending on the spans.
Right. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Clough, Coates, and then Ward.
Mr. Ellerman, if you could go back to your the last view you were at.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking at lot 205, which is near the proposed change. It looks like we've allowed similar things to be put. There we go. I don't know the name of that street, but I could see it was more to the right that you had there. If you could go down Wakara circle there, I believe. That main house there, you had lot number 205 on that. I see a similar building that's been proposed to the property lines. I know it's probably not as big, but I don't see what's existing in that neighborhood that would substantially be in a conflict to what's being proposed. I know it is a little bit higher, but I think that due to the nature of the neighborhood, this type of structure is in use and within the level of quality of life that these people currently enjoy and expect. It looks very comparable to me. And I was looking when you were moving that around, it looked like there was about 3 or 4 other buildings in a similar manner in this particular area as well.
Thank you, Councilman. How about you, Councilman Coates?
I just had a quick question for Drew. Looking at, if you want to jump back to the other, just the plan sheets on the site plan, you can scroll up to the site plan. So with the additional height, our rule is we push over 1 foot for every height they want. Isn't that correct, Drew?
Yes, what it is, the new rule that you brought in not too long ago, if they can move for every foot they go inward to the property, they get a foot higher on the accessory structure.
So with that, we didn't meet that rule, correct? That's why we're here for a height variance, because we only
Right, yeah,
moved
they
it in
don't
for 3 feet.
have to take that. That's just what we've offered
Okay.
for people to try to keep them out of this. But if you
Okay.
go back to his, I think what's holding this one, he has a pool right there, as you can see.
Yeah, and I did see that. I just wanted to make sure that, because we went through those height things to try to make it so these people had options not to have to come to council. But looking at it, I agree with Councilman Clough, and there's a 3 foot setback. And so I think I look at this and see that it meets the intent of the neighborhood. So that's all I have.
Yeah, just so the council knows, that's what I try when people bring these in. I try everything I can to do before, and then sometimes our only options are to bring it to you good folks for these requests. So
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman Ward.
Yeah, Drew, can you just zoom out for me on there? I just want to make sure that I've been looking at the right property. Get myself oriented there.
yeah, Sullivan Park is right over here. You can see in my screen, and then the home is down right there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you.
Not all, Councilman Ward?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Ivy?
Mayor, I'm not sure if there's any more discussion or not, but if there's not, I'm ready to make a motion.
Mayor, you may want to close your public hearing technically, though.
Right. We'll need to close the public hearing first. Well, wait a minute. Does
Yeah.
anybody have
Yeah.
questions for the
Yeah, yeah.
applicant? Any questions for the applicant? Seeing that we had no buddy that had replied back on our inquiries, we could entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
Mayor, I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Was that your intent, Councilman Ivy?
Yeah, just to make a motion when we're ready.
Okay.
When you're ready.
All right, I do have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Councilman Clough,
Clough, aye.
Councilman Ivy,
Ivy, aye.
Coach,
Coates, aye.
Councilman Ward,
Ward, aye.
Councilman Staley.
Aye.
Thank you all. Okay. So we'll come to you in 2 weeks.
No, Mayor,
Thanks to the applicant.
This is
this is a vote tonight.
we're
Oh, it
voting on
is?
this.
Oh, you're right. Excuse me. All right, we'll move on to item 6. Consideration to approve a height waiver requesting HW 20-02 or a detached pool house at a height of 24 foot 3 inches located at 930 Seminole Way. Applicant Christopher Cole.
And Mayor, I'm prepared to make that motion. I'd like to
So-
make a motion,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a height waiver request HW-20-02 or a detached pool house at a height of 24 feet 3 inches located at 930 Seminole Way.
Clough, second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll go with a roll call vote. Councilman Staley,
Aye.
Councilman Ward,
Aye.
Councilman Coates,
Aye.
Councilman Ivy,
Aye.
Councilman Clough.
Aye.
All right, that is approved. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Clayton. We'll move on to
Thank you.
item 7, preliminary plat. Consideration to approve the preliminary plat for Brio phases 4C and 4D located approximately between Rialto Parkway and Gemstone Way. Applicant Reed Scott.
Hey, Mayor, let me stop for a second and go back to here and okay. Everybody see that one okay now? Is that plat shown on your screen, gentlemen?
Yes, it's getting
Yes.
clearer.
Okay. All right. Wow. The applicant, as stated, is requesting approval of the preliminary plat for the Brio 4C and D subdivisions. The applicant is proposing 35 lots and the area of coverage is 4.98 acres. The zoning designation at this particular subdivision is the Brio PCD, Planned Community Development. The surrounding zoning is open space to the north, PUD to the east, PUD and open space to the west, and PCD to the south. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances at this location. Staff's reviewed the request and recommends approval with conditions. The Planning Commission reviewed the request at their April 1st, 2020 meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for the Brio 4C and D subdivisions onto you, the City Council, and it is based upon the findings and subject to the conditions in your report. And I'll be glad to answer any questions the council might have on Brio 4C and D.
We do have the applicant on the phone also. Any questions? Councilman Ward?
Oh, sorry. For some reason, my arm doesn't get tired in this meeting. I had to leave my hand up.
Okay. No questions for Drew or for the applicant? If not, I'll entertain a motion then.
Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion. This is Councilman Staley.
Thank you.
I move that this council approve the preliminary plat for Brio phases 4C and 4D located at approximately between Rialto Parkway and Gemstone Way.
I have a motion. Will I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Council.
I have a motion. I believe the second was Coates, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call vote. We'll start with Councilman Clough,
Clough, aye.
Councilman Ivy,
Ivy, aye.
Councilman Ward,
Aye.
Councilman Staley.
Aye.
Thank you. And Councilman Coates.
Aye.
That is approved. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Item B, consideration to approve the preliminary plat for Bedford located approximately at 3800 South Washington Fields Road, applicant Dan and Leanne Hoops.
Wow.
Everybody see that one okay on your screen? Does that fit? Okay. The applicant, as stated, is seeking approval of the preliminary plat for the Bedford subdivision. The applicant is proposing 17 lots and the area of coverage is 6.48 acres. The zoning designation at this particular subdivision is the multifamily residential R3 zoning. The surrounding zoning is Ag 20 to the north, C1 to the east, PUD to the south, and R3 to the east. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates to this location. Just to let you know, it already does have an approved CUP as well, which the R3 does require. And this proposal falls within that CUP. Staff's reviewed the request and recommends approval with conditions of the preliminary plat as outlined. The Planning Commission reviewed the request at their March 4th, 2020 meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for the Bedford subdivision onto you, the City Council. And of course, that's based upon the findings and subject to the conditions in your report. And they are the standard 11 conditions for preliminary plats. And I'll be glad to answer any questions the council might have on the Bedford subdivision.
Councilman Coates.
Drew, when the PUD came through the Planning Commission when I was on it, one of the items that we brought up was the property for 4200 South to the north, which I know is not a part of this project. But I thought one of the conditions for them not having a public street through their property is that property would be, the right of way would be dedicated to the city, because they did not want to make one of the streets public. So to give a little background to the other council members, my concern is that there's not a public street that gets over to the public street on to Washington Fields Road. And I did not want to happen with the subdivision to the south. It got chained off because it was a private street and they have that right to do that. But my concern is that moving forward, I thought there was a condition that that property had to be dedicated over to the city. Is that not correct, Drew?
That is correct, and I'll let Mike Shaw, if he's online, kind of pop in. That should already be in the works, if not already done with the legal description. But Mike, are you on, and can you address that?
Yes, I'm actually working with the Hoops to acquire that right away. We actually have all the legal description stuff, and I'm just finalizing the agreement with them.
Okay, that's good to hear, Mike. Question for Drew, though. Should we make that one of the conditions? Because it wasn't on the conditions list, and I thought it was already supposed to be on the conditions based on the PUD approval.
Well, they didn't actually have a PUD. It was a CUP.
Sorry, CUP.
No, and I'm not trying to split hairs. Don't take that wrong. But
no, thank you for the correction.
Yeah, and so we were moving forward on that. I feel comfortable. If Mike feels, because like I say, I think they've pretty much given the okay to move on that because it benefits them to do so. But maybe I'll how Mike's comfort is on that. Maybe don't want to put him on the spot, but he's the one who's been working directly with it on what his feelings are on that. Mike, do you mind?
I'm comfortable either way. If it makes council more comfortable to put a condition, that's fine. But I'm pretty confident that we've got the right of way worked out with the hoops. I met with Dan and Leanne last week. I'm pretty confident that this is going to go through.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, and I know the hoops have been really workable. I just a little verbiage and some language just to protect the city, I think is worth it as far as that goes for a condition, but that's just my thoughts.
Thank you. It looks like Councilman Clough and Councilman Staley.
I'd like to voice my support to the motion made by, I just had a brain fart here. Thanks, Coates, Councilman Coates. I really appreciate, it's just verbiage to a degree, but I know there's a lot that's in motion and it is working, but out of respect of what was made in the previous meeting and the intents of this development, I think I would feel better as a council member to have that written within this motion to make sure it does go through.
So noted, thank you. Councilman Staley?
Yeah, I just wanted to have a little clarification. 4200 South is Treasure Valley Road, but I wanted to understand exactly what is in question here as far as an easement for access, and is that something they're working out with the adjacent property owner, or do they own this property as well? I would just like an update on what was the condition that may have been missed and where we are now.
Yeah, I'm going to highlight here. Let me get my pencil. The question, the property is owned by the Hoops, which is your same applicant. And the piece we're talking about is right here. And that road, I'm going to change.
Drew, can you turn on the master plan road right there?
I think let me get.
I think you can. So.
I can. Let me just bring my bar up and transportation master plan. And it's the blue line is 4200 South is that dotted blue line. Treasure Valley Road is the orange line you can see coming in. Now we've already acquired this particular piece from the Hancock Gibby clan. I'm gonna, well, let me get back. I'm gonna clear this out so you know where I'm talking about. There was a triangle piece left here that we got from the Hancock Gibbies. And then now this is the Hoops property here. And they're willing to give up the blue lined area that you see on your screen. Does that help?
That does help. So are we just basically asking for that easement to be in writing?
That's what I'm requesting, is that we just, and it sounds like Mike is working on that right now. What I'm requesting that is just a condition of this approval before final plat, does that be finalized?
And that's it. The final plat for this is also on this agenda for tonight because the construction is essentially done. So that would be, I wonder if that's a better condition for a preliminary plat or the final plat.
I forgot that it was.
You could do it on both. Feel free if you want to, Councilman Coates. It gives some time because they still have to get the plat. The final plat has to go through a third-party review. It's going to be a couple of weeks. If you want to make your motion on the final plat, just say before it can be recorded that we have the easement signed, if that helps you.
That does. I think that makes sense to me.
Okay.
But I also think we should just put it on both while we're here.
Oh, it's wise. Yes, I agree.
Any other questions? Anybody ready to make a stab at a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. We approve the preliminary plat for the Bedford located approximately 3800 South and Washington Fields Road. The applicants Dan and Leanne Hoops, with the findings and conditions provided with staff, with the additional condition number, I think 12, right, Drew?
Yes, 12.
that the roadway between Washington Fields Road and Treasure Valley Road right away be completed prior to final plat recording and deeded over to the city for the right of way.
Clough, second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll go roll call. Councilman Staley.
I know you called on me.
I know. You good?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Councilman Coates,
Coates, aye.
Councilman Ward,
Aye.
Councilman Ivy,
Ivy, aye.
Councilman Clough.
Clough, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is approved. We'll move on to item C, consideration to approve the preliminary plat for Washington Dam Industrial located approximately 1055 East Washington Dam Road, applicant Judd Palmer.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Applicant, as stated, is requesting a preliminary plat approval for the Washington Dam Industrial. The applicant is proposing 8 lots and the area of coverage is 4.78 acres. The zoning designation at this location is the light industrial, referred to as the I-1 zoning district. The surrounding zoning is I-1 to the north, east, and south, and RA half to the west. The proposed subdivision conforms to the approved zoning. The request meets the subdivision requirements and other city ordinances as it relates at this location. Staff reviewed the request and recommends approval with conditions of this preliminary plat as outlined. The Planning Commission reviewed the request at their March 4th, 2020 meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat for the Washington Dam Industrial Subdivision. On to you, the City Council, according and based upon the findings and subject to the conditions. And again, the standard 11 plus a 12th condition was added that they need to show the monuments, identification, and county numbers before the plat moves on to City Council. And I think that might have been done to have those numbers on there. So, but again, it's the preliminary plat. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have on this proposal.
Mayor, if I may. I was wondering if staff has had any, so those are quite a few retaining walls on that east side, and I know there's a lot of elevation change on this property. I'm wondering, a couple concerns I have is it doesn't detail out the setback between the walls, and it doesn't show the drainage plan for those walls. And I know it's a preliminary plat, you don't have to get into it. I'm just more of a question maybe for the applicant, what their plan is for the drainage on those walls. And I asked staff, does that meet our current wall ordinance?
To my understanding, I do have Adam from Bush and Gudgel is on the phone with us, but I'm pretty sure Brandon has gone through, from what I understand, pretty heavily on this, but we'll let Adam address that and what his conversations have been with the Public Works Department. So Adam, can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'd like to first off say we appreciate you guys taking your time to work out this online system so we can continue to move forward as a city. We sure appreciate that. And then as far as that goes, we're right now, Councilman Coates, we're currently working with Wayne Rogers over there. He's went out and he's done some preliminary investigation, and he actually probably recommends that we don't do retaining walls because it's pretty much almost solid rock out there. And he thinks that having it be a slope with some benches to account for, you know, some drainage, make sure it doesn't get too far off of there, is probably what we're going to move that to.
Okay, looking at that, then my next question is, what's the plan for maintenance on those? One from the uphill side and in between the walls. I can't really tell if the storage, I know the storage units are to the east. Are those, it looks like they're pretty close to grade. I mean, you're just starting from that elevation and working down. I'm just wondering if there needs to be a bench of some sort to be able to maintain any rock fallage that could potentially happen with this being a rock shelf from the upside or downside. And then the other question I have is, if you're doing a rock shelf, are you doing a straight cliff? Or are you gonna, or I guess you said benches, but what are those benches in your mind?
So we're talking through it with Wayne, and he's going to go through and detail that out to us. He thought that we'd probably have like a 1/2 to 1 slope with some, he's going to make some recommendations on probably some like 8 foot wide or 6 foot wide benches, probably 2 of them, one towards the top and then one more towards the bottom. And then, you know, so we can they can get up in there if they need to. But they don't anticipate too much rock fall because we're trying to take it right to, you know, match their grade, come out from their property line a little bit and then start a slope down.
Well, then I would just expect you to work with Public Works on figuring that out between you, the Geotech, and Public Works.
Awesome. We appreciate it. For sure. We'll definitely work with them.
Okay, Councilman Ivy and Councilman Clough. Thank you.
Yes, a geotechnical study is pretty standard, especially on industrial build applications. I'm just wondering, this is going to require a lot of blasting from what I've seen of the project. Can you give us just kind of some insight on what's expected, what kind of the ideas of the blasting and kind of that procedure just a little bit so we have an idea? And that was for the applicant.
Oh, okay. So as of right now, I'd have to, I don't know if they're going to do too much blasting or not. I know that they had kind of talked about possibly doing that depending on how hard the rock is to move with their excavators. I don't, and they're just starting to get in there and start moving some of that dirt, or some of that rock and dirt. I don't know if you guys have noticed they're in there. So far, they haven't had too much of an issue. If they do blasting, the procedure, obviously we'll have to submit a blasting plan to Public Works and they will have to review it, and it'll definitely be directional blasting if it is, to be away from the, you know, to be away from those guys over there. But as of right now, unless things start to be harder than they are, I don't know if there is a plan to do blasting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ivy. Councilman Clough and Councilman Staley.
Okay, my concern on this is I know we've had some issues with gypsum in this area. Are we pretty clear that there is no issue with gypsum within the soil substrate, even though it is rock? Our area does unique things once you add water to it. What looks like rock somehow changes. So have we verified that the gypsum content has been addressed in the proposed changes with the walls and this proposed, you know, state of soils? Have we addressed the gypsum?
So as of right now, I do not have the full geotech report, and he has not mentioned any gypsum so far. He being Wayne Rogers over at AGEC. His preliminary investigations and what he told us was that it was very good soils. It was very rocky, but obviously he's doing some corings and some things like that. And so if there'll be some substrate in there, then we'll have to deal with that at the time. But as of right now, I don't have an answer to that question. I apologize.
It's okay. I mean, gypsum may be one of many expansive soils that I'm just concerned about, because I know our roads and some of our structures have taken a beating in this area due to the presence of expansive soils that weren't properly calculated in their initial builds. So that's just one of the concerns I have, making sure that those get addressed before things get built.
Thank you. We'll work very closely to get that taken care of.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Staley. We need you to unmute.
Unmute Councilman Staley.
Thank you.
Adam, it's good to talk to you. I'm asking about access to the snow property to the west and the swap property to the northwest. Is that an asphalt access? Is that a dirt access? How do you envision specifically the one between lots 3 and 4?
As of right now, I'm not exactly sure. We've addressed it being there. Obviously, it'll have to be an all-weather surface. I don't know if it will be asphalt or just, they're currently, I believe, coming off on gravel. There is talks of them acquiring the parcel to the north or to the kind of the northeast of them. And then that access in between lots 4 and 3 would go away and they would just access off the end of the cul-de-sac. But we'll work with staff to make sure that these guys have adequate access as far as loading.
Great.
Thank you. Any other questions for Adam or for Drew? Councilman Ward.
Yeah, Drew, can you just give me the overhead? I want to just make sure I'm looking exactly at the right location here.
Hope I'm not making you too dizzy. Right where my arrow is right there. In fact, I'll hide that blue area right there is the area that we're talking about. Can you see that okay, Councilman?
Yeah, just have you zoom back out just a little bit. Would you mind clicking on your zoning for me? Okay, thank you.
Another question, Councilman Staley?
No, other than this is about a half mile up the street from my house, Councilman Ward. But honestly, it's nice to see something useful and productive happen with this property. And I know we vetted this zone change about industrial quite heavily, so it's nice to see a preliminary plat come in, and I'm confident they'll do a good job here.
All right, thank you. Any additional comments for Adam or for Drew? Anybody prepared to make a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve the preliminary plat for Washington Dam Industrial located at approximately 1055 East Washington Dam Road. Applicant is Jed Palmer with the 2 findings and 12 listed conditions.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Clough.
Councilman Clough, second. Okay. We'll start. I'd like a roll call vote. Councilman Staley.
Aye.
Councilman Coates.
Aye.
Councilman Ward.
Aye.
Councilman Clough.
Aye.
Councilman Ivy.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That is approved. Move on to item 8, resolution. Consideration to approve a participants resolution authorizing and consenting to the sale of certain electric generation facilities to the city of Hurricane and approving the form of an equipment purchase agreement, approving the form of a revised Exhibit C to the transmission service agreement between the city and Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems in connection with the Central St. George 138 kV transmission project and related matters. Director Rick Hansen.
Excuse me, Mayor and Council. Hopefully I can get this to work. Is that coming up on your screen? Can you guys see the briefing document?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that. Basically, there's a segment of 69 kV line that runs between two of the substations in Hurricane that is at the end of its useful life and really has no continued value in the project. And so as a PMC, we would recommend that it be surplus and sold, but the selling price is $5 to Hurricane City. If it remains in the project, we'd be exposed to future upgrade costs. So it makes sense to surplus that to the city of Hurricane. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions for, looks like Councilman Coates?
Yeah, Rick, just real quick, what's the history? How come we owned a line? Is it from her in Hurricane? I'm just curious the history a little more on it. I mean, I know I read through the thing.
Yeah, the main reason was that there was a time that Twin Cities was part of UAMPS, and it made sense to have a path that UAMPS owned from the river sub all the way out to where where Twin Cities took delivery. And since that's been sold to Garcane, it no longer serves that purpose. And so it's basically just an internal line to Hurricane City.
Okay, thank you. Just curious. Thanks.
No problem.
Councilman Ivy?
Yes, Rick, I'm just wondering if Hurricane agreed to it, would they be able to come up with all the money for it?
The whole $5, I think they probably can.
The whole $5.
Councilman
The
Ward?
lawyers said we had to have something in there.
Councilman Ward, did you have a question?
I did. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just curious, just for the educational purpose, can you tell me what will Hurricane do with this?
Their plan is they're going to build a transmission loop around their own city. And so they're going to be rebuilding the line. This is a picture of it. UAMPS owns just the wire and these insulators on one side. Hurricane City currently owns the poles and all the other conductors on it. So they're going to be rebuilding it to current standards and making it bigger to fit the needs of their city.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Councilman Ivy, you still have another question?
No, he answered. As long as Hurricane get the money, we're good.
Mayor, if you're ready, I can make a motion on this.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So a resolution for 8A. Wow. Mayor, make a motion to approve the participants' resolution authorizing and consenting the sale of certain electric generation facilities to the city of Hurricane for the cost of $5 and approving the form of an equipment purchase agreement, approving the form of a revised Exhibit C, the transmission service agreement between the City of Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems in connection with the Central St. George 138 kV transmission project and related matters.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call. We'll go with Councilman Ivy.
Ivy, aye.
Councilman Ward.
Aye.
Councilman Clough.
Aye.
Councilman Staley.
Aye.
Councilman Coates.
Aye.
All right, that is approved. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Item 9, award of bids. Consideration to the award of bid for the Washington Parkway and Telegraph Signal Project. Mike Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. So we advertise the project, open bids publicly on the project. Snow Electric came in at low bid at $111,000, $648.80, and staff's asking for approval of this project.
I know there's a lot of interest in this one.
I am so excited about this, Mayor. I can't even put it into words.
Well, you better make the proposal then.
Oh, well, so there's not a whole lot of conversation on this. I think we've all gone down this and just been excited to meet the meets and bounds and figure out the cost of this. I was just kind of looking at all this, just kind of excited. There's so many people excited to put a proposal on this first and foremost. What was when I'm looking at these, we got Snow, Interstate, JP Excavating, and Cache Valley. What's the recommendation for the council?
The low one, the lowest, Snow.
Is that what we're basically limited to? Was there a benefit of using one over the other? Just trying to get that back from staff.
Snow's an excellent contractor. They've done several signal projects for us. So we're very tickled with their bid.
Well, good. Since you're tickled with that bid, if no one else has anything else to say, I'm ready to make a motion, Mayor.
I'll entertain it.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid for the Washington Parkway and Telegraph Signal Project to Snow Electrical, Inc. to the value of $111,648.80.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Councilman Staley. I'll entertain a roll call motion. Councilman Ward?
Aye.
Councilman Coates?
Aye.
Ivy?
Aye.
Councilman Staley?
Aye.
Councilman Clough?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. That's approved. Thank you, Mike. Item B, consideration to award the bid for the 2020 slurry seal project.
Again, Mayor, thank you. So on March 30th, we publicly opened bids for the slurry project. Intermountain Slurry came in at our low bid at $508,097.80. So staff is asking to award to American Paving, and I didn't share my screen. There it is.
So, Mayor, if there's no discussion, I'd like to make a motion on this.
Okay, thank you.
I'd make a motion for the 2020 slurry seal project for the annual street maintenance, be installing 411,772 square yards of slurry for the amount of $508,000, $508,097.80.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Clough?
Clough with a second. Okay, roll call vote. We'll start with Councilman Clough.
Clough, aye.
Councilman Coates.
Aye.
Councilman Staley.
Aye.
Councilman Ivy.
Aye.
Councilman Ward.
Aye.
I did notice the last two bids that were approved, the last was 80 cents on each one of them. That must be a trend.
Mayor, if I could, I have my hand raised for a quick thing.
Sure, I'm sorry.
I would just like to thank Mike Shaw for the best roads in Washington County. Want him to keep up the good work. So excited to see our roads last longer. So thank you, sir. I'm so stoked for what you've done for our city and making these roads last longer than the average. So keep up the innovative work.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Item C.
I'm going to jump in too and just remind you that
Okay.
Washington Fields Road needs some work, Mr. Shaw. I brought that up about 3 months ago. It's not getting better.
Yeah, next year we're planning on Washington Fields and Washington Dam, some major probably overlays on those roads. So some major costs involved there.
I'll just keep following up with you every 2 or 3 months until it's done because I'll forget the timeline.
Right.
All right, item C, consideration to award the bid for the Washington Dam outfall and east lift station.
Okay, again, thank you, Mayor. On March 31st, we publicly opened bids for the sewer lift station and outfall line. On this project, we only had 2 bidders, JP Excavating and Whitaker Construction. JP Excavating came in low bid on the project at $983,000 or $983,307.50. Staff is asking council to award this to the low bid of JP Excavation.
Any comments? Questions? Anybody want to take
Mayor,
a
I've got
stab at a vote?
Mayor, I've got a question for you,
Okay, thank
or
you.
for Mr. Shaw. So, my guess is that the economy was possibly a little bit different than it is today when these bids went out, and where there's only 2 bids. Do we feel like that we got the best bids out of this, and is it even legal to put it out for rebid?
We could put it out for another bid. We were actually very excited to see the bid come in from JP Excavating, a little bit lower than we expected. We did have, I believe we had 6 or 8 plan holders on this, so we were a little bit, well, not concerned, but we thought it was a little odd that we only received the 2 bids on it. But I know contractors are still really busy right now, not wanting to do jobs. We're pretty confident that this is a good bid, so we're asking to go ahead with it.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion, or I'll take a stab at a motion. You'll entertain the motion.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain that motion, Councilman.
Great.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I'll go ahead with that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll motion that we award the bid for the Washington Dam Outfall and East Lift Station to JP Excavation, Inc. in the amount of $983,307.50.
I'll second that, Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. I'll start roll call vote. Councilman Clough.
Clough, aye.
Councilman Coates.
I'm abstaining from this one, Mayor.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Councilman Ward.
Aye.
Councilman Staley.
Aye.
Councilman Ivy.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Those are approved. Thank you, Mike. Okay, we'll move on to item 10, final plat. Consideration to approve the final plat for Bedford, located at approximately 3940 South Washington Fields Road, applicant Leanne Hoops.
We can't hear you, Drew. Could you turn your mic on?
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, everybody see the picture okay?
Yes.
Okay. The applicant is requesting approval of the final plat for the Bedford subdivision. This particular subdivision is proposing 17 lots and an area coverage of 6.48 acres. The zoning at this location, once again, is the multifamily residential R3 zoning designation. The preliminary plat was approved earlier tonight, just a short while ago. Staff reviewed the requested proposal and finds the proposed final plat conforms to that approved preliminary plat. In fact, the ink is still wet, and the Planning Commission reviewed the request last week at their meeting. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the final plat for the Bedford based on the findings and subject to the conditions, which are the standard 5 conditions. And again, you might want to propose a 6th condition from our preliminary plat approval of having that dedication on that commercial zone property given to the city before the recording of this final plat. So with that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you, the council, might have on the Bedford final plat.
Councilman Staley.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify on the address here. The preliminary plat gave us an approximately 3800 South Washington Fields Road. The final plat gives us a 3940 South Washington Fields Road, but the actual plat is showing 3925 South. When I went by there today, I didn't yet see a street sign. Wondering if Public Works could get us a street sign showing 3925 South Street.
Councilman, I appreciate that. What we kind of do, that's why we'll put the location at approximately, so it's south of that 3925, but that road name would probably, I'll let Mike chime in on that if they put that up or if we do. So Mike, are you mind popping in?
That would be part of the subdivision process. They have to put up the street signing. So prior to them getting a final on that, we'll make sure that's done.
Does that help you, Councilman Staley?
Well, yes, it does. And I learned something tonight. Maybe we'll have 6 conditions then.
Okay.
A street sign at 3925 South.
Well, it's an automatic before we let them get a signature on the plat. That's what that final Mike was talking about, is that the Public Works make sure that sign will be in. And even on
That'll
these
be
private
great.
streets, on the private streets, they'll have to have signs on them as well.
You know,
before they'll
we
sign
joke,
off.
you know, I joke about that a little bit, and I understand approximately, but I really appreciate that because you've got Freedom Village there, adjacent to it, and Mustang Townhomes North. So even from a public safety standpoint, to be able to give an address that we're off 3925 South in Washington Fields Road, that's really helpful.
That's a good point. Very well taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Staley. Anybody else? Any additional questions? I'll entertain a motion then.
Mayor, I'll make a motion. We approve the final plat for the Bedford subdivision located at approximately 3940 South and Washington Fields Road, with the findings and conditions provided by staff, with the additional 6 condition of the roadway easement for future 4200 South be dedicated prior to recording of the final plat.
Clef, second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll go to roll call vote. Councilman Staley,
Aye.
Ivy,
Aye.
Coates,
Aye.
Clough,
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 11, ordinance. Consideration to approve an ordinance amending the general plan, G2002, requesting to change the land use designation from community commercial, CCOM, to planned unit development residential, PDR. The property is located in the northeast corner of 1100 East and Telegraph Street. The applicant Red Vista Development of Orem, LLC.
Well, Mayor and Council, I do apologize. I'm not sure why the exhibit, and I thought I'd checked, did not come through, but you know the property well. I just highlighted on there with the red pen as the aerial. This is the area in question. Again, the 2 weeks has since passed for your holdover time. In fact, it's doubled that because of our missing of our last meeting. And so this item is ready for council action. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have had in your 4 weeks to ponder this proposed general plan amendment to the PUD from the community commercial.
So Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
A couple of the questions that I needed some help refreshing my memory on is, Drew, when we looked at this, we talked about making it just a PUD and not a PUD residential or PUD commercial as far as this general plan amendment. A couple of my thoughts is I still would like to see, I was thinking a lot after we heard from the applicant about that this type of application for affordable housing probably does meet to go in commercial areas. And it kind of makes sense the more I think about it. The concern I have was I don't think we got into the whole the amount of parking and that kind of stuff. But that is one concern I have, is the current parking on it with the layout. Don't know if it met it or not. I don't remember those numbers. And I know that's farther ahead in our process, but those are the couple concerns I had moving that forward, was the current parking layout moving forward. But I am in support of a PUD itself. That way, in long term, if it does change hands, it can't just go to residential. I think it needs to be a PUD in general.
I appreciate that. And I know that helps, I think, a few other council members that I've had a chance to talk to, that would have been my recommendation, just to give it the PUD. And then whatever happens, they can come back for either commercial or residential, but it'll be through a PUD is what the council see anyway. So that might be a great help. In fact, it might give you more flexibility than what the community commercial has right now, in one vein to think about that. So appreciate that thought.
Sure. Thank you. Elder, Councilman Clough, Councilman Staley, Councilman Ivy, from that order.
Thank you, Mayor. One of my biggest concerns about this I want to discuss with the council is I am perfectly fine discussing a change in zonation. The developer has proposed something unique in the concept of a monetary exchange that is being considered as a way of compensating from changing it from one type of zonation to another. And though that may be of value to our city, my feel is our precedent as a council is to establish zones, and once that zone has been approved and talked about as a council, that we're good with that. I get nervous when we start talking about exchanging of monetary value within zone changes. One, because I don't think that's our role. And two, I don't think it sets a good precedent of appearance as our council. If this feels like a right thing to go with PUD, let's go with PUD. But I'm not in favor of having an exchange, a monetary exchange, to change it from one type of zoning to another.
Thank you. Councilman Ivy.
Thank you, Mayor. My concern from the start was that because of the number of children that could possibly be in this complex, that there would be plenty for them to do, because we know Telegraph will be busy and it's only going to be busier. And so I just wanted to voice that I am in support of a PUD for this development, and I will be looking for those amenities that will keep those youngsters safe and occupied. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Staley, you had your hand out. Did you?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate what Councilman Clough brought up. That what he's referring to is the transfer fee that the applicant had initially brought up, that did come up briefly in our last public meeting during the public hearing. I think it was pretty clear that the council does not have an appetite for a transfer fee. One thing that I did like, because as we trade off a little bit of commercial for potentially attainable affordable housing, I did like the trust deed restrictions. And Drew, are we at that phase yet, or is that the next phase that we would ask for trust deed restrictions to help these be owner occupied affordable housing?
That would be at your zone change on your PUD.
Okay.
The actual zone change, because that'll go into a development agreement. But right now we're just talking general plan. So yeah,
right.
It would be the next phase that you would iron out all the parking, all the stuff that was brought up earlier, the play area, amenities.
Perfect.
All that open space and stuff would be part of your PUD, what they would propose. But it's good you get it out now for them to have it in the back of their mind as part of their proposal when they bring it forward. And council, the applicant is on the phone in case you have any questions for them. I saw here they are ready if you do have any questions for them.
Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion if there are no more questions.
Any other questions? Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I will entertain that motion.
I move that we approve an ordinance amending the general plan G-20-02, requesting to change the land use designation from community commercial to planned unit development, period. The property is located on the northeast corner of 1100 East and Telegraph Street.
I'll second that, Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. It would be a roll call vote. I'll go with Councilman Clough,
Clough, nay.
Ivy,
Ivy, aye.
Staley,
Aye.
Coates,
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 4-1. Thank you. Item 12, funding, review the Greater Together Fund. As you all know, we approved money to go to this Greater Together Fund. They've asked me to be on the review board to review the applications. So far, we've approved 3. One of them was here in Washington. It was Black Bear Diner. And there are currently 40 plus applications going on right now. It's been a little overwhelming, just to be frank, to Dawn and the chamber. And so we've been quite patient in waiting for the other packets for us to see. But there's been great interest. And I think that hopefully it will accomplish what we're looking to do. Should you have any questions on this? The 3 that we approved, they didn't, we said they could get up to 20,000. The only one that applied for the full 20,000 was Black Bear, and I understand that for their employees. The others were, one was 10 and the other one was like 11. It was like 11,200. It was, so the good thing is, gentlemen, I think we did a good thing to help these folks get out. I do know there's at least 7 to 10 Washington businesses that have applied, that have told me that they were applying. So looking forward to that. And that's really the only update I have. Like I said, that we're a little overwhelmed for the number of applications. So Councilman Clough and then Coates.
I think one of the biggest things, Mayor, thank you for giving us some data back on that. I was really excited for this update to see how our community was responding. I feel overwhelmed and happy that good things are happening. At this point, do you feel confident that we started with $50,000, waiting for this meeting to see how it would react, how the board would be set up, how the response would be? Do you feel it wise to move forward with our full potential of what we wanted to do as a council and move up to the 85,000 and give the rest of that at this time, or would you rather wait and see how more applications come in?
I'd like, if you want my honest opinion, I think we ought to hold off for the next 2 more weeks. See, I want to see the full, what's coming in through Washington. And not that I'm trying to be greedy, but I want to see how our response is from our businesses here in Washington City. That's my recommendation, council. It's up to you to decide. Either way, I think we will probably end up funding the full amount, but I think we need to get a little more traction.
Then if that's the case, Mayor, would you be okay putting this on our next agenda when we meet together, just to have another follow-up and see how we're going at that time then?
Did you hear that, Denise? We'll get it on.
Sorry, a little slow unmuting. Yes, I got it.
Okay.
2 weeks.
I just feel this is something that's so pressing to me, just to make sure our economy the best that we can influence. There's so many ways that this gets influenced. And if we're going to step in and do it, I just want to make sure we're there for our businesses in a responsible way. And if we can give a little bit, that would make a big difference between someone closing their doors and keeping them open. I'm so sensitive to that right now. And I just want to see how we can continue to be a benefit in a very responsible way.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Coates, you still want to?
No, Councilman Clough asked it, so I'm good.
Okay. Anybody else? I do want to tell you, thank you so much, gentlemen, for approving that. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And like Councilman Ward said during our discussion, we probably won't see that money back, but it's going to be money well spent. Anything to report from your assigned committees?
Mayor, I will jump in.
Okay.
Just want to mention again that the league has come out with a list of impacts for stimulus fund considerations for municipalities. Have a list of those. And then just for your information, there is in planning right now an emergency legislative session planned for sometime next week. The video chat that I was involved with, and Mayor, you probably were there to also. Lieutenant Governor Cox discussed a little bit about the planning of that, but the legislative session is to address COVID-19. And what I'm hearing is it's not just our actions that we're taking, but also to address long-term economic impacts and try to, the big press that I hear is that they're just, it's desperate that they keep these businesses doors open so that the furloughed workers have a job to go back to. And that seems to be a major concern. But if you would ever like to know more, Councilman, please reach out. I know there's a myriad of information out there, but I'm involved in those video conferences. And if there's ever a question I can help with, please reach out. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else? Councilman Staley?
Thank you, Mayor. I had the chance to attend the Planning Commission meeting as part of the audience, more so than as part of the, part of the action like we are having tonight. And one thing that I was very impressed with is the fact that there too, we had public comment come electronically. And I know we had an item tonight that was to be discussed, and we had many comments that came in electronically. So I may be stretching a little bit from my assignment on Planning Commission, but I think that's a discussion worth having as to what extent this council continues to allow electronic public comment. I think of a mother who's concerned about or has questions about a development, but while she's or he or whoever it may be is home attending to their responsibilities, not able to break away and spend the whole evening waiting for one agenda item to come up to put their comment in. So I just feel like as our lives are kind of changing and we're using and embracing technology more so, I would be a proponent that we follow the successful pattern that the Planning Commission had, accepting electronic public comment as we see how it goes in future meetings here while we're meeting remotely. So that was one comment. The other comment has to do with my involvement on the Active Transportation Committee. I look forward to bike lanes on Merrill Road and on the other Main Street and Parkway projects. I look forward to maintenance on Washington Fields Road in anticipation of more improvements, and would like to see bike lanes and active transportation lanes there as well. So if that can be part of the minutes for staff who's listening there. That's all I have on my assignments.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to our city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. And I won't take too much time. I've submitted kind of a written report just to kind of facilitate this setting. But the other interesting thing about this written report is so many of the items were covered tonight, from the traffic signal to Main Street to other things this evening. And so, but I did want to mention just a comment with regards to what Councilman Staley had mentioned. Then we're very impressed this evening, and had it not been just for the misposting, I think you would have been too. We were very impressed this evening with the turnout of the public comment. And we've recognized, I think, through this process that in some cases, government hasn't kind of met the people halfway in helping them to be a part of these government processes. And I couldn't agree more on that issue about there's going to be some wonderful things that'll come out of this that I think will help our citizens engage in a much better way with the process. And so we're going to continue to explore those, but I agree with that. I won't go through this unless the council wants me to. Again, you have it, and but I would also entertain any questions that might be there. You'll have to unmute, Mayor.
All right. Round one of the electronic era for Washington City is going to be adjourned as soon as I ask for an adjournment.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Hey,
All right. See you all, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your patience and your who you are. Great people. Thanks.